Going to make a right turn here into quite a narrow street. I'm going to prep my turn by turning 180 to start, holding for a bit, feeding another 180, and then a final little boop, pull at the end to tighten up the turn so I could come in straight. Hey, it's Jacqueline. And for the next few minutes, we're going to work on the most important skills that I hope you retain from our driving videos. Good steering control and good speed control. I think about driving the same way an athlete thinks about their sport or a musician thinks about their instrument. You have to use precise positioning and control if you want to get the best result. So when I'm thinking about steering control, I have my hands on the wheel at 9 and 3. My thumbs are pointed up, and I say to myself, my fingernails on my thumb are going to guide me in the direction I want to go. When I first started teaching driving, I used to teach the hand over hand method for steering. I even taught my own children to use that method. But then I drove with the child of a race car driver, and it was so cool to learn from this young person what her father had taught her about steering. She convinced me that using the bottom of the wheel was the safest way to maneuver because I watched her do exactly what her father had taught her to do. So then I started researching steering methods, and I called driver racing schools. There's one down south near Palm Springs where I live in California, and there's one right across the bay in Napa. And I asked them about steering, and they said the safest way to steer is using the bottom of the wheel, keeping your elbows in, and trying to move only as much as you need to. Be careful of oversteering. That's what usually gets people into trouble. So keeping my elbows down reminds me of when I was doing kickboxing class and my teacher said, keep your elbows into the body. I always go back to my parallel thumbs, and that helps me remember that I'm going to use the least amount of movement, trying to keep my thumbs parallel as much as I can, and always returning to that parallel position. And of course, when I'm out on the road, the steering is combined with my speed. And it's actually the acceleration that helps the steering wheel return to neutral, not as much my steering. So let's talk about speed control. It's really important to calibrate your speed up to the speed limit, but not beyond. Calibrating means that it's very natural to go a little bit over. The important thing is to notice. When you notice your speed going over the speed limit, you are supposed to adjust the weight of your foot on the gas or cover the brake and apply pressure if you're going downhill, but you have to adjust your speed to the speed limit. The important thing to remember is that speed limits are set for pedestrian safety, and higher speeds lead to higher deaths. When I'm controlling my speed, I'm really just using the ball of my foot and my big toe. And I want you to think about how your foot placement allows you to use the thumb of your foot and the ball of the foot right under that big toe. If my foot is way over here, crooked to the left, it's harder for me to use my ball of my foot because it doesn't actually reach the gas pedal. So keeping my feet parallel, which means keeping my right foot a little bit further to the right than most people think, allows me to use the ball of my foot and my big toe to apply just the right amount of pressure. And then also it allows me to pivot and cover the brake or apply pressure to the brake, again applying just enough pressure. People usually think that they have to keep their whole foot over the brake and use all of their pressure to press down on the brake. but that's incorrect. The foot is only supposed to cover the right part of the brake. And think about it. You are responsible for using both pedals, so it's really important to be able to pivot from the brake to the gas with your big toe and the ball of your foot. If you're covering all of the brake with your foot, you don't have the flexibility to get over to the gas the way you need to. So we have established that the safest positioning for your hands is at 9 and 3 with your elbows in and your thumbs up. We've established that the safest place for your foot is to the right so that your feet are parallel and you can ground your heel and pivot to the brake and the gas and the brake and the gas. Let's get out on the road and practice. So the slower we're moving and the tighter our space, the more precise we have to be with our steering, because we've got to fit into small spaces. And also protect pedestrians who walk around in parking lots. When I'm approaching a curve, I feed the wheel. Notice my elbows are in, and I'm just accelerating slightly to let the steering wheel return to normal. Now I'm going to do a 90-degree turn, feeding the wheel 360 degrees to the left, and then letting it return back to center. And again, it was just the slight acceleration that let me go forward and return. When we're in our parking rows, we want to remember 5 miles an hour. That way, if somebody pops out, we'll be able to stop. And when you're in more open spaces, you can go maybe around 10 miles an hour, up to 15 if it's a caution area. But just always remembering that you're looking out for pedestrians, and your slow speed allows you to come to a stop better than if you're going too fast. You really don't have to make abrupt steering movements when you're out on the road. Everything should be really smooth. And the same goes for your speed control. You hardly ever, I hope, will have to slam on your brakes. I hope that you'll notice hazards far enough in advance that you'll be able to slow down safely and come to a smooth stop. As my light turns green, I'm thinking about my steering control and my speed control, working my way up first to 15 and then to the maximum speed of 30 miles an hour. When I reach 30, I adjust the tension point of my big toe. I did get to 31 there. And as I said, it's really, really common for your speed to fluctuate just a bit. That's why it's called calibrating. But your goal is to notice when your speed increases and adjust the weight of your foot or apply your brakes, whichever is needed to come back down to the speed limit. It can be really common for new drivers to let themselves get carried away by the speed of other traffic, but don't let other people speeding create a problem with you speeding. Remembering that tighter turns require more intentional steering. I'm going to make a right turn here into quite a narrow street. I'm going to prep my turn by turning 180 to start, holding for a bit, feeding another 180, and then a final little boop, pull at the end to tighten up the turn so I could come in straight. If I tried to make that turn with my hands up and over, I wouldn't really know where to place my hand to get the exact turn that I needed. Sometimes it does take just a little bit of adjustment. But by keeping my elbows in and my thumbs up, I can make any final adjustment I need to from a really controlled space. Turning the wheel, holding, and then releasing. Practicing in a parking lot would be a great place for you to develop that control of steering and speed. Next, going out into a space where the speed limit is 15, it gives you another opportunity to just master that feeling of safe driving. And then once you're in an area where the speed limit is 25, you apply the same safe practices. And with our last turn, practicing that again, feeding the wheel thumb to thumb, and accelerating gently to release. Thank you so much for checking in today to spend some time perfecting the 2 skills that are going to keep you safe: controlling your steering and controlling your speed. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.